Brigitte is going to give us a quick presentation here from Redevco, just to introduce a couple of themes and some ideas for the discussion. And then I think, Brigitte, you are going to be amongst everybody here, aren't you? So I'll be up here, Brigitte will be down there, and so we will keep it nice and lively. But for now, because we're all in such a lovely mood, let's welcome Brigitte. Thank you, Brigitte. Thank you.
So much. Yes, we thought that it. Oh, sorry, I used this one. We thought it was nice because it's the last slot that to be a bit more interactive. So be aware, I can come to you and with a microphone. So be aware with that. My name is Brigitte Gerritsen. I'm head of research and strategy within Redevco. And we recently changed our mission, and it's very much more on sustainability, on livability, on cities, and we come to that later. And we thought, well, maybe just setting the stage a bit so you all know that you're in the right room. It's on the ESG. Just a question to start with. Who came by train to the MIPIM, sorry? Okay. All from France or also from abroad? Paris? Paris? Some people from abroad? Yeah?
I'd like to say Nicole tried to, but it was the train strike.
No, it wasn't. They stopped.
It was
Monday,
from
it was
Marseille.
clockwise.
Yeah.
So where you came from? From Brussels. Well, me from Amsterdam. It's a long journey, but it's worth it. I saved a lot of carbon doing that. So I hope you will consider it next time. The importance of ESG, it's unbelievable how fast that is growing, and I think it's even forbidden not to mention ESG in a presentation right now, or it should be. It's that important. We're all facing many challenges in our age, and climate change and social fairness are two of them. I was with a presentation last, and someone asked me, climate change, who is worried about it? Hands up, please. Who is worried about climate change? Thank you, thank you. Who is lying awake about climate change? Thank you. Thank you. You should. You should be lying awake. It's really that bad. It's really that bad. It is only 9 years left to really change the industry, and then perhaps we can make a change. So it's going very fast. When you are working in a real estate company, you think perhaps you are in the financial, economic industry, but you're not. You're in the social industry. You're all working on people, and you're all working on cities. So it's much more a social industry than an economic or financial industry. And it's also about nature. So now it's the combination. How can we make that work, the nature with the cities? Building a neighborhood with no social value, we say it has no future value and therefore no economic value. So it's very much connected to each other, and we need new business models. In your last panel, it was all about it. How can we come up with new business models to make it work? Because a business model is also necessary. Then you had some interesting questions to prepare this session, and we discussed this. So what are the key trends for real estate? And it's interesting to see if you, for instance, 10 years ago, when you were at MIPIM, it was all about offices, wasn't it? Maybe a bit on industrial. We never even heard of data centers. Residential, build to rent, no. And when you were in retail, which was a big business, there was a different fare. Then you go to MAPIC. So it's all really changing. It's not about those 4 anymore. There are now about 30 different topics to invest in. It's much more niche. It's much more specialized, and you really have to know your business to do it right. So if you're now in residential, you're not in residential. You are in co-living, or you are in meanwhile housing, or you are in student housing. So it's really niche, and you really have to know your industries. That is, I think, a very important trend in our industry. And it's also that we are now, the connection between the tenant and the investor, it's much more connected. So we are also, as investors and as managers, much more involved in the operation of the building. So you really need to understand your building, your line of business and your building. Then you had this question, what does this tell us about opportunities going forward? And do you see dislocations as a driver of opportunities? Yes, I see that very much. So, and dislocation, that's not only that stranded office building outside a town, it can also be, like in our portfolio, we have big boxes in big cities, and sometimes we need to find a new business model. So it's now not retail anymore, not on 3, 4, 5 stores. So maybe we have to see, can we make it mixed use or even blended use, that everything is working together inside the building. So it's not only asset by asset, but also inside the asset, new ideas need to be found. As a Redevco, we say we want to lead the transformation. And that's not because we want to be the biggest or the smartest, but we want to lead by example. It's not a competitive subject. To really do it right, we have to do it together. So we see it as an open source, as an invitation to others, and we call it a movement. We have to do this together. And if you think that's an open door, well, please see it as an invitation then and step through that door with us. And it will help to have a shared vision, how cities of the future can be and how they should be. And if Martin Luther King had said, I had a nightmare, no one would have listened. So we have a dream. We have to inspire people to make a change. And the funny thing is, if we are doing a discussion right now, and hands up what you think of what is a vibrant city, a livable, sustainable city, all our ideas are the same. So what's keeping us? We know how a city should look like. So what's keeping us? We have to do a hackathon next time and see how we can come up with new solutions. And then your last question, Richard, what are the best opportunities? Which cities will outperform? And maybe that's not even the right question anymore, because all cities need attention. All cities deserve it to be a better city and a better place for people to live in. So if you are really good and really organized and specialized in that area, please invest in that area, because I think that's really needed. Working together with local communities, no greenfields, please, no demolition, please, if we can avoid it. Because if we want things to stay as they are, everything will have to change. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to hand you a roving microphone now, Brigitte. You can. Whenever you want to leap off the stage, then do. Let's pick up with some quick introductions. And Sebastian, thanks very much for coming along, because I know Christiana Conrads was due to be here, and Sebastian has agreed to step in when she couldn't do. So I won't ask you any nasty questions, Sebastian. It'll be fun. But no, good. Brief introduction of yourself, and also, I guess, from PwC's point of view, where you sit particularly in these kind of trends when we're looking at ESG.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. So, brief introduction. I'm a director at PwC in Frankfurt, and I'm leading the real asset consulting team. And basically, in my team, we have 3 pillars. The first is strategy and operations consulting, where we help our clients to deal with new products, new topics, new clients, new markets, but also to redefine the operating model. And the second pillar is risk and regulation, where we help our clients to get licenses or to deal with new regulatory questions that come up. And from these 2 first pillars, the third pillar evolved something like 5 years ago. And this is, from my point of view, also the most important pillar now with the ESG focus in real estate. And how did it come? Well, our clients came and said, well, our stakeholders want us to be greener as a company, but we also want to have green products. And for these green products, we need green assets. And we need to understand what is the background behind this. What is a KPI framework? And also have to keep in mind the regulatory environment and a regulatory framework with taxonomy, with SFDR to take in mind when it comes to the decision how should a product look like and how can we market it also to our clients. And when we started 5 years ago, we had a lot of theoretical questions. So how can an investment strategy and a sustainability strategy for the products look like? And now, let's say in the last 2 years, it evolved more to the place where we talk about how can you operationalize it? What does it mean for the investment process? What do we have to look at? What is the KPI framework when it comes to the acquisition of the buildings, to the due diligence process? What do we want to look at? What do we have to look at to find the most attractive buildings and the ones that really fit to the product strategy and the sustainability strategy of the fund product that keeps the products working? And from my point of view, we still have a way to go, especially because the things that are set by the politicians and by the regulator still have to be operationalized, and that there's still a lot of open questions on how to do it in a way that it works for everybody and that it is standardized and that products are still comparable. So there, I think we still have a bit of a way to go, but I think we are on a good track to do so, and with the will of the market participants to also collaborate on to work on solutions that could fit for more than just themselves, but also for the market. I think that is the reason why we are here today, to also talk about these topics, to bring the topic further for everyone.
Yeah, perfect. Adrian, it'd be good to just get a quick introduction of yourself, also Skanska, and I guess where Skanska, as a particularly as a developer, and I know you're active in the CE region, but I guess how that's influencing the strategy there. And I'd also be interested to hear whether or not you've seen that changing quite a lot in more recent times, as Sebastian mentioned there, that there's been a bit of an acceleration in terms of the views of the market.
Hello, everyone. Adrian Karczewicz, Skanska Commercial Development Europe. Skanska is a construction company for most of you that know Skanska somewhere in terms of signs on the subway stations, highways, etc. But we have also this commercial development business, which basically is geographically settled in US, Nordics, and Central Europe. And we are probably one of the biggest developers delivering office space in Europe. And my role is I'm actually transaction director. I'm selling our assets to investors, so I'm covering Central Europe, but with experience in Finland, UK, and US, working for Skanska. And when it comes to my role, I'm starting to use this ESG lenses. I'm trying to look, of course, I'm in the capital markets, but I'm trying to see the practical solutions that are adapted, and of course, how the investors are reacting to that. So this is my role. And when it comes to Skanska, we are not the best in the PR, we're not selling so well what we are doing, but we started to report environmental aspects of our business in 1997. And then in 2002, we started to use this part of the report for sustainability aspects. And this was about ESG. At that time, 2002, no one knew ESG, but for us it was environment, social aspects, and the governance. So from 2002 until 2018, we have been using this sustainability aspects in part of our financial report. Now we are dividing our financial reporting, annual report into two. So it's financial and ESG. So this is from 2019. So we are for sure on the forefront of what's happening. And again, of course, some people are using this and looking only at the environmental aspect of this ESG. We are very much deep involved in other aspects of this as well, in terms of the social and governance solutions for our projects. So, we can talk for quite a long about, of course, what we are adapting. But in terms of our qualifications, we are listed on the stock exchange. So, we are MSCI AA, CPS minus A. We are in 40 ESG listed companies on Stockholm Nasdaq. On FTSE, we are also one of the best performing ESG companies. So these qualifications are given for, of course, what we are doing or how we are solving the most, I would say, one of the most polluting businesses that you can compare right now, which is about, of course, the carbon emission and generally the pollution of the environment. So we can touch on some let's say practical aspects, but I don't want to take this right now. We can maybe
absolutely
move this further.
Alexander, just a quick introduction of yourself and Dreams, and how what role does that play within this whole ESG conversation, if you like.
Welcome, Alexandre Grelier, my name. It's interesting. I liked your question at the beginning. How did people get here? And what we do is basically we provide a due diligence platform. This is better known as data rooms in the past. And these data rooms are used because you want to do due diligence, you want to understand what is inside your assets, not only when you're selling them, but even in the life cycle of the asset. And when we started the business, this is now over 20 years ago, I was talking to my business partner, who is still my business partner today, so that's really sustainable. But I was talking to him and I said, you know what? One of the things if we want to change the world is that we should do due diligence virtually, because at the time, I don't know who of you guys remembered that, you did due diligence in a cellar and you were going through binders and stuff, but normally you didn't do that in your neighborhood. You were traveling around the world to do due diligence, and that is really not sustainable. So already that time, we started thinking about that, and we thought, could that be interesting for people to go virtual and not travel that much? And interesting enough, the response at the time that I got is like, you will never get managers to do due diligence on the screen because A, they like traveling too much, and B, it is not secure and so on and so forth. So we have proved them wrong. We have done that.
And why did you ask yourself that question? How can we change the world? Was that to be innovative?
Well, actually, it's innovation comes somewhere from inside. And when you were suffering yourself doing due diligence in these places where that happened, with totally unstructured data, where nobody really had a clue what was inside, and you're forced to pull out information within no time. Like my boss said to me at the time, basically my background is I'm a lawyer and an investment banker. So, and they said, you have to do a due diligence on a portfolio within 4 days. You're like this, it's impossible. It's just impossible. But with technology, it becomes possible. And that's why we started thinking about why not changing it to digital, get the information, what is inside. And it's a normal curiosity. And it was a wish from the beginning where we said, we believe that things which are cumbersome, expensive, and not very sustainable have to change and must change. And that was the day where we thought, let's do that journey. And so we did some Google research at the time, and there was no real data room provider in Europe. And so we started that, and here we are.
Okay, great. Ron? No, it does work. It's fine.
Yeah, it works. Doesn't work. Thanks. Well, actually, I was still enjoying the kickoff of Brigitte, and especially your one-liner is not about competition, but an open door to collaboration. And that's also, I think, aligned with my goal. I have my own advisory boutique, Multiple Impact. I'm associate professor at Amsterdam School of Real Estate, and already 20 years driven by healthcare and sustainability. And I'm managing editor of the Impact Journal. And I'm also proud to see a few of our members, because I think it's all about personal leadership. And I think it's great to, well, honestly, I was hoping for a double-digit room filled and even a waiting list outside, because it's not a nice to have anymore. We are already too late, and it's, I think, only damage control. And indeed, it's about behavior of people. And that's also something I try to influence with thought leadership and inspiration. So happy to join this panel.
Yeah, and it's also interesting what you said. We were not the best in our communication, perhaps, but you said we are doing it already for a long time. And it's, you said when you were talking about ESG for 20 years ago, and I think that's something we don't want to talk about it too much, because we don't have all the answers right now, so it's a bit scary to talk about it, but we should, because we have to learn from each other, also from the mistakes we make, perhaps.
Yeah, but it's the same with like Article 9 funds and the greenwashing element. Yeah. Now people or parties are hesitating to outperform on ESG, otherwise they get blamed and are in court. And that's also the negative side of legislation. Yeah. So my preference is to have as less as possible or a clear framework, but less rules, and also give ownership to parties and show your entrepreneurship. And that's what can make a change. That's the same why he started with, well, let's go digital, and then we can have, well, we can be more innovative with each other. And that's what we need. And I have one clear focus, and that's also about alignment in the value chain. And I'm really, I have nightmares about our linear way of thinking and acting. And I'm afraid that we are not willing to change, and especially not willing to change from linear economy to a circular way of business, because a lot of parties are having benefits of being structured in that way. Yeah. And that's something I think we should be more, well, direct, and also kick parties out when they show old school economics.
I was trying to avoid the word greenwashing, but I think it's an interesting topic.
Always willing to help.
Well, it's but it's also when you are afraid to be accused of greenwashing, that is also holding us back, and there's no time for holding back. So a little experiment, maybe. No cheating, please. Oh, God. That was the light. Close your eyes. All close your eyes. No cheating. And then hands up. Who is afraid of being accused of greenwashing? Yeah. Okay. Hands down. Yeah. That's it, huh? So there were a few hands, so they were brave enough to do so. So it's really how can we? Because it's important that people hold us responsible and say it's not about greenwashing, but on the other hand, it's also holding us back. So maybe a question. I warned you I was going to do this. Sorry. So why did you join this meeting? What answers were you looking for?
The key trends. I mean, like ESG and also capital.
Yeah, it was a long title, and Key Trends was also on it, and now it's on ESG. Is it still okay for you?
Yes. Yes, sure.
What line of business are you?
I'm in the consulting, and I think I'm especially looking at the social impact of the ESG part.
And how to measure the S on ESG. Is that also in the due diligence? How to measure the S in ESG? Is it coming already?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, this worked. Definitely, it is coming more and more. We see it I mean, we have done a research on the duration of data rooms, and now if we're looking at the current times, we see that I mean, there is a huge uncertainty in the market, which hasn't happened like this for the last 12 years. So this is certainly one part, but like with raising interest rates and reevaluation of the asset values and so on and so forth. But then there's this little aspect coming, on top, which is not really nice. And all of a sudden, we see due diligence being prolongated. You have there are such nice tools when you have a data room platform, which is called very basic a Q&A tool. And the Q&A tool is very profane. It's something where the parties which are involved in the due diligence process, they can ask questions and get responses. And when you see that all of a sudden the use of these tools are really hockey sticking, you can take some analysis out of that, and that is what we're currently seeing. Yeah.
And are the questions changing? Yes, Ron, maybe? Okay.
No, can I
Yeah.
just to compliment if you run? No, I just wanted to say something first to refer to what you said about this marketing. So we are not afraid to speak about what we do. It just we are a construction company. So I remember the time when I was working for a competitive developer from Poland, and we're standing looking at Skanska, because Skanska in 2006-2007 was implementing LEED certificates in Poland. And we're like, oh, the Skanska is again bringing something. Oh, we're laughing like, yes. And then, it took like 2-3 years. Everyone started to do LEED or BREEAM, yes? So it's just about PR of this, yes? It's about selling, what you're doing. So this is what we are not maybe, so great at. But talking about the social aspects, because again, this is not so measurable, I would say, but you have to look at the basically well-being of a person, because at the end of the day, you are selling environment for people. Yeah, so people, instead of right now when you have this work from home, you can decide, you can stay at home, you can go to the office. Yeah, so what brings you to the office? It is actually the environment, yes? So, of course, again, there's this new element, which is WELL certification, and you can have WELL of shell and core, but you have also WELL interior, where you can actually, we have in our space in Warsaw WELL interior, and you can measure the aspects of the air, water, and basically the light, how this is affecting a person, yes? So then you are basically looking at providing the best possible environment so that the people will come back, yes, and they will thrive and be happy in the premises. We started with the sensors that they are actually checking the temperature and different things in our offices, but now we have this big X around the office, which actually are almost like AI, because this is the machine learning. So they are the sensors are learning, yes, how people are moving around the premises. How should we adjust the light? We, meaning like the machines, yes? Yeah. Because, the people are, of course, sometimes grouping, sometimes sitting individually. But then, we are getting this data, yes? And of course, we can provide exactly what our customers, which is the most important, what they need, yes? On top of that, something which we coincidentally, started to use, that was WELL health and safety. Yes. So before COVID hit, the earth. Yes, we had that in our spaces. So basically, we had sanitization. We had all of the the best filters to remove potential viruses from the air, which is basically circulated around the premises. So again, you can go to such office and you're not afraid that you come back and get your kids and your wife, or
from sick buildings to very smart buildings, but you're doing it for the people inside the building. Thus again, the social
and
angle.
Just to finish the social, yes, because it is about the mapping. What we are doing, we are mapping basically the stakeholders around our project. So the people who are living around us, the basically the regular living older, younger people, and also the municipalities. So we are mapping interest. Yes, do you need a bike path? Do you need we have like in most of our buildings we have kindergartens.
Yeah.
People are coming from abroad asking like, oh, you have kindergartens in the offices? Yes, exactly, because this is what people need, yes? Yeah. Not only the office workers, but also the people from, the surrounding area. So this is the well-being, yes? This is the social aspect, which is so much appreciated, but not yet, at least, I'm not so yet, educated how you can measure that, but this is again something which we do, but...
Well, sometimes you don't have to measure it. you just have to do it because you know it's the right thing to do. That's also well, maybe it's.
But Brigitte, I don't really I don't agree with that we don't have to measure it because we have to evaluate it, and I think that's the missing link at the moment. Also, a key takeaway: we did a session in London. The main takeaway was measuring the social impact is difficult because it's mainly OpCo, and we are quite lazy PropCo guys and girls. But the most important topic is when we can evaluate the impact on the social, then we're going to change behavior. And also, and I think that's the missing link at the moment. That was also the driver to speed up the E. Yeah. Because we were able, when we saw, okay, BREEAM outperformance, hey, that's a better valuated asset. The same is, so it's actually a green premium to speed up, and that's really also for the valuation expert in the field. Yeah. Really, we should educate each other and help each other to reevaluate this topic, because to my opinion, that's extremely important.
Yeah, the social impact investing, and to have really the intention to do so, and therefore to prove it, you have to value it in the beginning and value the results. Yeah.
I wanted to pick up, Sebastian, because obviously PwC do the global trends. How important a factor is ESG in all of those? And picking up the point around capital, is capital, is it moving to a point where really institutional capital is only going to be investing in something that has the highest ESG standards, including elements like well-being, those kinds of aspects, because actually that's a more resilient asset, if you like?
Yeah. Maybe it depends a little bit on who you talk to and what you assess. For example, when we talk to our clients, especially to the asset managers, and when they talk to their clients, I would say that Article 8 is the new normal that is coming. And for the products that we recently advised on setting up, almost all of them were either Article 8 or Article 9 funds, Article 9 especially when it comes to infrastructure. But when you then do an assessment of how many or of how much capital already is in Article 8 or Article 9 products compared to Article 6 products, especially in the real asset market, it's still not where, from our point of view, it would be supposed to be or where it should be. And the question there is, again, who are you talking to? If you talk to insurance companies or pension funds that have an intrinsic motivation to also invest into sustainable investments, because they say, well, of course, for us as an insurance company, it is key that sustainability is recognized and we don't have so much damage because of environmental catastrophes, etc., coming up in the future. For us, it would be good to invest in such products. So they have the motivation, but it's not all in the broad market that are currently seeing these investments. And again, there, from my point of view, it still is a bit of a way to go to also educate that the question should not be how much does it cost me today to invest into a green product. The question should rather be how much does it cost me in 10 years if I do not invest into a green product because of the let's say damage that is done, or you potentially then have a stranded asset where you have to think about how to handle it within your portfolio.
And obviously, I guess from your point of view, Alexandra, that if you're looking at that due diligence side, you've got to be able to have that data, you've got to be able to have that information, otherwise you're not going to be able to track process, and you're not going to be able to then give the information back that helps achieve the kind of sustainable levels that people are looking for.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's like you wanna have a platform where you can, from all sides, like collaborate, add the relevant information, and do your math, and have the modules inside, so that you can see whether or not you're reaching the target that you have to reach to be compliant. And therefore, a platform needs to provide these information and helps you to better get the information, to get the transparency, whether or not you have everything. And so these are the things and the trends which are definitely coming. And just one word to the change, because I don't believe that change only happens, and I'm constantly repeating myself with that. there's two ways why change is happening. A, someone has a huge vision, and to be very very honest, I don't believe that 99% of people have great visions, or you have enormous pressure, and therefore, if you want to have that change coming rather fast than later, then the pressure needs to be there. And what I see currently is that the pressure is getting up more and more.
Okay, good. Adrian, I think it might be interesting because I know that there's a bit of interest in terms of, what this means in terms of construction, where we're heading, and obviously you're doing that, and you've got a project that you wanted to just do one slide on, just to kind of show, and it will,
Absolutely.
if you just press it forward, it will move to that, hopefully. Yeah, there you go. Because I think it'd be interesting, just because you mentioned to me earlier that there's a much bigger drive now in terms of recycling, buildings, so that actually more is being reused in that circular economy.
That's another example of PR. It was accidental. I have mentioned that to you. But
we asked you to.
Yeah.
You're modest again, eh? This, you can be proud of this. Yeah.
so but it's really interesting, because yes, we are right now planning the energy performance of the buildings 50 years ahead. Yes, when we are starting to develop, we are planning energy efficiency for so long. But on top of that, we are right now planning how the buildings will be demolished in 50 years. So it's really like, we have to be like, really forthcoming, yes, to see how to dismantle, something that you have erected, yes. And, this is just an example because we acquired this building just in the CBD of Warsaw, which is, I think it was some German developer who did that many years ago, start, of early 90s. And right now, as you see, we are supposed to use, some 90% of these materials, yes. And look, many developers or investors are talking about recycling. This is the worst thing, yes, that can happen. Because again, this is producing energy. Again, this is producing some pollution. Again, you need water. The best is to reuse. Yes, this is the most important factor of basically dismantling or demolishing of old structures. Yes, so you can see, besides, of course, the whole, again, something which is coming on top of that, all this taxonomy. So we are looking at the business. Yes, what we can do, and really how we can improve the society. So what is interesting about this one, because it is still not, it's still standing like that. So we are preparing the whole process, yes. But we have scanned all of the finishes in the building. So we have a virtual twin for this one, yes. So we can basically see how many small tiles we have in the building, how many glasses, how many stones, everything is measured, yes, to the centimeter. And then again, we are trying to see, okay, we can use some of that on the new constructions, but what happened, which is of course, which is connected with something which is affecting all of us, which is the war. We have these initiatives. One of them is like rebuilding hub. Basically, some of this equipment will go to Ukraine, so they need glasses. They need windows, they need doors, they need partition walls, and this is really I would say quite negative example, but they have their houses, their flats have been bombarded, yeah? So they have holes in the walls. So basically, we are right now talking to some of these Ukrainian suppliers to move our partition walls from this building to Ukraine. So the people can basically pick up some of these materials and basically have the proper place to live. So this is what we are how we are going to take this material out. And in the meantime, another social aspect in this building, 2 floors. We have basically oh shoot. What I have.
If you pass it to me, Adrian, I may be able to secretly help.
2 floors.
Anybody noticing.
2 floors in this building. We have changed. Can you move to the other one?
Yeah.
Yes, 2 floors in this building. We have basically totally refurbished and developed a shelter for 500 moms with children. So this is being used for a year for refugees from Ukraine. So these are the aspects how you can basically later, provide a sustainable, as I called sustainable, meaning ESG product. Is that it's not only to make money, but to make people not happy, but simply satisfied of being part of this environment.
Yeah, it's a beautiful example. It's not about skill. It's about doing this. Yeah, wonderful. Time.
We're a tiny bit over time, but I just want to find from everybody, I guess, where they do see, let's end on a positive, where they do see the opportunities here in this. Let's start with you, Ron. Where are the opportunities in this particular ESG social impact trend?
Yeah, I think the key element is, well, I was, by the way, really impressed talking about social impact. That's really outperforming. Great. Now, well, I would like to introduce a new word, and that's exclusion. And it looks like a negative word, but it has everything to do with pressure. And indeed, we need pressure to change. And I think we see a great exclusion pressure from the capital side, and it also would be handy when we have a user side where it's also about exclusion, like when you're not joining the game, you're out.
Okay. That's almost a good word to stop, right? Yeah, opportunities. I mean, as always, when you have never waste a crisis and don't take the opportunities. And I think here we have huge opportunities with regards to really moving forward. I mean, if I look at my business, we're really helping providing transparency, providing the transparency that everybody needs to really take and get the next step. And that is what we're working hard for every day.
Okay, great. Adrian.
Yeah, I mean, for capital markets, I think it's important to have these lenses. So, yes, it's today quite. I would say it's not only a trend. It's becoming not a supplementary thing, but it's basically a go or not go for the business. So it's something that all of us have to adapt, but it's for good.
Yeah, I would say, Ron, I'm totally with you. But the thing and the topic there is, I think we already get some pressure from the regulators, from the politicians. The question is how they define it, that it is operationalizable, let's put it that way. And I see the big risk in what you were talking about when it comes to, for example, greenwashing, because I think we already have a lot of market participants that would like to do more and that have really good ideas, but with the risk. And I think in Germany, for example, we had 2 weeks ago the news that Commerz Real, with their Article 9 impact fund, had to go to court because the lawyer said, well, can you really prove that you reduce carbon emissions with your product? Well, at the end, they can, and it's still an ongoing process. But when you see the risk that you are taken to court and that you are accused that your products might not do so, it's always a negative press impact that comes back on you. And with the risk on seeing that, I would wish for the future that the market participants would be more free to do what is right without having the risk of being accused of greenwashing, because then it would make it much easier for them to do the right things without being afraid of negative impact.
Last word to you.
Well, I had my time.
Okay,
I would
that's
say
fine then.
I give them 1 minute back of that time.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks very much, everybody, for being here and being part of this afternoon. And enjoy the rest of MIPIM. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.